Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about how Ryan Humiston is telling you to build muscle. We got a secret trick here, and me and Faz are going to analyze it. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. All right, I'm joined by FAZ Lives, who you can find on YouTube. I'm going to link it down below at FAZ Lives, or on Instagram, FAZ Lives. Correct?
That's right. Faz lives everywhere. Yeah, join me on there. Give me a follow and say hello.
All right. So I introduced Faz to the world of Ryan Humiston today, and we're gonna go over his latest video. Faz, it says, "Do this." Let me just share this. Do this before every exercise to build more muscle. So I was curious about this point, and we're going to break this down. Before we do so, I also introduced Faz to this Ryan Humiston, who where is he at here? Where is this at? I want to make sure I get it. This Ryan Humiston. That music's a little too loud for me. So just to kind of set the table, this is the old school Ryan Humiston. Oh, my back hurts. Okay, let's not look at that anymore. But I guess we forgot about that old Ryan Humiston. So I'm going to play a clip, Faz. We got 3 points to talk about in this video. So let's just roll the first clip and we'll address that point.
In stone. Everything is determined by how the exercise feels on that particular day. I think this is a critical difference between somebody who gets real results and the asshole next to you that's done the same 5 exercises for each body part, the same form, it looks the same for the past 5 years.
Okay, so this isn't the main point of his video, but it was the first point that really kind of I wanted to talk about. Basically, Ryan has a secret trick that's going to come up to help you build more muscle, Faz. And before we get into the secret trick, Ryan made the point that his secret trick is going to help you build muscle as opposed to the guys that are just doing 5 exercises per muscle group for 5 years. What are your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what his trick is and what it involves. Generally, when we're looking at building muscle, we're looking at getting stronger, progressive overload. And I've only been introduced to Ryan Humiston literally 2 hours ago. I've had a brief look at some of his work. Interestingly enough, my first impression of Ryan was exactly the same as a video that Jeffrey Verity Schofield made on him. So shout out to Jeff about that. So my first impressions are not favorable because I have seen people like him and interacted with him before, and I've kind of get an idea about why he's saying what he will, which I think we'll get into.
So, in all my time in the industry, Faz, almost everybody I know has their core exercises, right? I have my core exercise. You have your core exercises. Yep. We are not against exercise variations, but as you progress over time, you find over time, not during a workout, over time, what variations are best for you, and you kind of keep them in the rotation, right? Is that a fair point?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Ryan is very dismissive, using kind of the straw man or whatever, basically putting down those types of lifters, saying they really don't, those are the guys that aren't getting results. And if you want real results, you don't want to be like those guys that only have 5 exercises per body part, for the last 5 years. I'm just going to say, Faz, and I want your thoughts on this, and then we'll move forward. I've been in this industry a long time, and I've worked with a lot of people, body transformations and, pros and you name it. Nearly everybody I know is that guy Ryan just put down. They have their exercises. They're not trying to go into the gym and reinvent the wheel and figure out what they want to do on that given day. Is that a fair assessment of successful lifters?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you ask a range of successful lifters, there'll be a lot of variances in what exercises they particularly like and enjoy. But the bottom line is they will all be consistently grafting on the hard basics for years to get the muscle mass that they have. That's always a consistency.
I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Mike, Revive Stronger podcast, where he was talking about when you look at the training of an advanced lifter, you have to understand that that's somebody that's been through wars and has battle scars, and some of the exercises they might do, or all the exercises they might do, or the variations are time tested and basically forged over the period of 10 years or more. And some of them have been more pragmatic. We have to switch to this exercise because of an injury. So the point we're about to get into, the magical way to build muscle, kind of goes against that. Ryan basically says, we're just going to run in the gym. We're going to, on each given day, we're going to try 3 to 4 exercises for 5 reps, see what feels good on that day, and then, we'll roll. So let's play the clip, and then we'll talk about that a little bit.
So let me give you a process to help figure this out. So you plan on hitting biceps, and you want to do seated dumbbell curls with a supinated grip. Now, before you count any of your sets, I want you to sit there and do 5 reps with that supinated grip.
Why don't I put the video on the screen, Faz? That would help. All right, sorry. Let me try this again.
On any of your sets, I want you to sit there and do 5 reps with that supinated grip and really focus on flexing the weight up. Before you decide, that's it, that's my bottom bench, I want you to do 3 or 4 different exercise variations, doing 5 reps of each, and just seeing if you get a better connection.
Okay, so let's not let that point pass by us. The point to build more muscle is to go into the gym and do 3 to 4 exercises of 5 reps to see which one you really connect with on that day. Now, we made a couple of we talked about this briefly before we hopped on, but your general thoughts on that, Faz?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I want to say about this. Firstly, I do know a guy like Ryan, and this is who I'm reminded of when I hear what Ryan's saying. He's very much into feeling the muscle and connecting with it on the day before he decides what to do. So the plan that you and I might have before we go into the gym, like, okay, we're going to hit X, Y, and Z exercise and try and hit this poundage and beat it. For these type of guys, they don't really have that. They just go in and see what they connect with on the day and just pound that. I know people like that. What I will say is this. People like that, in my experience, the ones that I know, not talking about Ryan because I don't know him, but they tend to be drug-assisted and very genetically blessed. Now, that advice is highly suitable if you are drug-assisted and genetically blessed and have, like Ryan, have built the majority of your mass. Now, if you are watching and you're not in that position, then it might not be appropriate advice for you. I don't want to dog on the guy. Like, I don't want to dog on Ryan because I don't know him. But all I would say is you have to look at who the audience is for this. Now, in my opinion, Ryan's audience is going to be veteran bodybuilders who are genetically enhanced and also fairly genetically gifted. That's probably not a lot of our audience, Steve. So I would just question, if people are listening to him, just be aware of that and just consider, does that advice actually fit me? That's the first thing I'd want to point out.
Yeah, for the average individual trying to build muscle, and we know the average individual that's coming to videos like ours and like Ryan's, they're trying to unlock this puzzle because there's so much bad information. What this is basically doing is saying, let's just parade into the gym, try some different exercises, see what feels good, and go with it. And for the average individual, that's not going to help them build muscle. It's just going to add more confusion. I want to make a couple points, Faz, and get your thoughts on it. Number one, if I'm going to prance into the commercial gym and pick out 3 to 4 exercise variations on a given day and run them for 5 reps, it's going to waste a lot of time. Not only that, but, Ryan just kind of bashed on the 5 exercises per body part, which implies you have a rotation of 10 to 15. I don't have a rotation of 10 to 15. That's a lot of stuff to mess with. Do you have a rotation of 10 to 15 exercises? Maybe in some cases we do, like back.
No, not quite that many. My rotation is roughly 9 exercises over a month. I actually made a video on that today, and that's probably excessive because I'm a relatively older advanced lifter. So yeah.
If I had to go into the gym and test out a bunch of look, this when the rubber meets the road, this isn't going to fly because no one's going to do this because they're going to quickly find out it's a severe waste of time. They're going to know what exercises they want to do. They're going to know what exercises are needed for progressive overload, what exercises fit them best. And, to go in and say, I'm not sure if I should do bench today. Maybe I'll do 3 to 4 reps on machine chest press and 3 to 4 reps on dumbbell incline, and on and on and on again. Number one, getting that equipment is a pragmatic nightmare. Number two, it's going to waste an incredible amount of time in the gym. And that aside, I will say, Faz, as an experienced lifter, I go in and do the meat and potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's very easy to maintain. Let's just set that table. Me and Ryan and you are in the same position. Very easy to maintain. So we have the luxury of going into the gym and doing whatever we want. And it's not going to tear us down. So when I go into the gym, I will not lie. I do my meat and potatoes, and then I might do a different isolation exercise. Or instead of machine chest press, I might do this, that, or the other thing. But that's non-critical. I would not do that if I were building muscle, trying to build muscle. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'd say this kind of ties into my second point. So we saw from the footage that you played, Steve, at the beginning, around about 10 years ago or 9 years ago, Ryan was lifting some pretty heavy weight. I mean, that was repping out 5 plates on the deadlift. I think rows was 6 or shrugs was 6, whatever it was. So the guy was lifting pretty heavy, and he had built up a good degree of mass. Looked like he was fairly bloated, going bear mode. And I mean, dare I say, he looked pretty advanced. I don't know if he was or not. But at this stage, around about 10 years later, he would have built a lot of mass. So I kind of get it. I get what he's saying. Like, I have to fight against doing all that. I don't train like I did when I was a powerlifter 10 years ago. So I do change my training. But then, as ties back to my first point, you've got to think to yourself, are you in that position? Are you 15 years after your peak, having built a ton of mass and now just really maintaining your physique? Is that you? And if not, then potentially Ryan's not speaking to you. If you're still in the building phase and you're like, well, I've got loads of gains to go, then in that case, don't waste your time finding 5 different variations of curls. Get in and get some work done, because that's what I was doing 10 years ago. That's what Ryan was doing 10 years ago to build his mass. Steve, that's what you were doing, and we all still do it. So I guess when you're trying to build your mass, maybe consider that Ryan's advice is possibly not for you. Again, no, I don't know anything about the guy. I'm not saying he's deliberately trying to mislead people, but, maybe he doesn't realize that what he's saying is not for the audience that he's saying it to. So for you guys who are listening to us, who are in the building phase, maybe just take Ryan's advice as something to put a bookmark in for the next 15 years.
Yeah, and I want people to understand, I mentioned Ryan a lot on this channel, but I'm trying to, I do so because for a couple of reasons. Number one, I believe it is my opinion that he adds more chaos and bad information than he does good information. And it's not a bash, but I try to use it as a learning experience, because so many people come to me and to you and they're confused and they hear this information and they want the right and true path. The bottom line is everyone I know basically has their circle of exercises. Exercise variety isn't a bad thing for hypertrophy, but it should not be random. You kind of have, for me, if I want to work in a dumbbell curl one week and a concentration curl the next, that's kind of in my plan. But, to go on feel for that given day, you can, that's more of a chaotic, random approach. It fights against progression. It fights, random in training. I just don't see random and training going together. Bottom line.
No, I mean, when I was building up on, let's say you've got some of my top sets for, let's say the deadlift were absolutely brutal. I went up to 240 for 8 once. There's 240 kilos for 8, nearing the peak of my deadlift training. Like, those are the kind of lifts you don't really want to do. So if I had done, what I kind of felt like doing at the time, maybe I would have backed it down to 200 or 220, 5 plates aside. But to do 5.5 plates on the deadlift for a set of 6, it's not stuff that you feel like doing. So you've kind of got to have a plan and stick to it. So yeah, I think, again, points back to my second point, which was if he's built a lot of his mass, the advice that he's giving is potentially to maintain it, and that's probably okay. But I want to make one more point as my third kind of point. If you are, let's say you're in this to lose fat, so you're trying to build your muscles, but at the same time, you're also trying to drop body fat. Now, if you're not doing effective training, you can kiss the partitioning benefits of lifting weights goodbye. Because if you're just lifting weights which aren't actually imposing enough damage on your muscle to grow, you're not going to get that partitioning benefit. All you're doing in the gym by lifting light weights which are not challenging is just burning calories. So you're not going to get that highly effective partitioning. And I can point you guys to the direction of a study by Fisher and Steele, which showed high intensity, low volume work versus higher volume, lower intensity work. The higher intensity work, which really tapped into that muscle growth stimulus, offered better muscle gain and better fat loss. So for those fat loss clients, it's not like it doesn't matter. Kiss your partitioning goodbye. If your training is not effective, you're not getting it.
So, Faz, I've said this many times over the years, and I don't believe you've ever heard me make this point, but I'd like your thoughts as an end cap. How a lifter, an experienced lifter, trains now generally isn't how they built their muscle.
Right.
So when we look at the programming currently of an experienced lifter, whether they're Eric Lillibridge or a top-level power lifter, or Ronnie Coleman or a top-level bodybuilder, how they train now isn't generally how they train the first 5 to 10 years to build their muscle. And that's the important point we need to understand. Ryan is a really good example of it. He built his muscle, and now, granted, he probably learned a few things along the way. We all have. But this is not a requirement for building muscle. This is not integral. This is not necessary to build muscle. Just any final thoughts, Faz? One
more thing as my kind of fourth point. Now, if I was to be so far in this video, I've been very sort of positive, but if I was to be cynical about this, I would just point out that the way to make a name for yourself in any industry, in any field whatsoever, okay, whatever the field is to take a contrary viewpoint to the masses, which really alienates you, and make that viewpoint consistently and loudly. That will garner you followers because it's different from the norm. So just be aware that it may well be a marketing technique, and that you don't want to waste your precious time falling for somebody else's money grab. Is that a little bit too cynical? You tell me.
No, I mean, I think it's an honest assessment because Ryan, he puts his entire load into the boat of mind-muscle connection. And Faz, I really dislike black and white thinking when it comes to lifting, whether it's training to failure or mind-muscle connection. And I'm sorry, we were going to try to keep this video to 10 minutes, but I can't stop. I want you guys to think about this point. Mind-muscle connection isn't a black or white issue. Like, you get the question a lot, is mind-muscle connection valuable? It's not black or white. There's a spectrum. When you're doing a compound exercise like a deadlift or a bench, you focus on form and trust that the muscles are doing their job. Yeah. You don't turn a compound movement into an isolation movement that's chest only, because you're going to weaken the lift. You're going to deteriorate your form. You're going to compromise your form. So there's a spectrum. When you're at the compound movement, you focus on form. As the demands of an exercise lessen, you can focus more on feel. So just remember that when you're processing guys like Ryan Humiston, it's not all mind-muscle connection. What scares me in this industry at all, Faz, is anybody that's doing the black and white game, because I ask myself off camera, these guys do not understand the nature of lifting.
Yeah. Can I make one last point? In terms of the because there's going to be a few guys I've seen on his videos who say it works for me. Now, if you're sat there watching Steve's video and you're thinking, okay, it works for me, I want you to do one thing. Check out my video called Markers of Progression, all right? And set aside 6 months where you're going to try it. But ensure that you have some robust ways of measuring your progress. So you have body scans, calipers, strength gain, muscle gain, alongside weight gain around the waist and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you have a robust system to check your progress over the course of 6 months and try it. See for yourself. Now, if you return after 6 months and go, yeah, actually I gained half an inch on my arms and everything was hunky-dory, cool. But if you came back with an extra inch on your arms and an extra 5 inches around your gut, then maybe it's not worked so well. So yeah, by all means try it, but ensure that you have a way of measuring the progress to make sure that it is actually accurate or not.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It worked for me crowd.
Yeah.
Generally, what that means is I liked it, right? And there's no definable, data. With my clients, and I'm sure you probably do something similar with yours, we monitor arm size, leg size, weight, body measurements. We're looking at tangible data. I just, like, if a client says it's working, I respect that. But as a coach, that's not good enough. We need to make sure it is working. So appreciate you joining me, Faz. Again, you can check out Faz's channel linked down below. We'll talk to you next time, Faz, and thank you.
Take care, guys.